Greetings YouTube, the author Mark Simmons here, back for my 15th instalment of my readings from the Psionic Powers Trilogy. In this episode I'll be reading a snippet from chapter 15 of my second novel, Purged in Flame. In the story so far, our protagonist has rescued another one of the group, Esther, from a burning building, and the two of them are fleeing through a wooded area, basically. Purged in Flame is available on Amazon via Poe Boy Publishing, and as ever, I've not rehearsed this, so we'll see how it goes. So yeah, this is an extract from chapter 15, which is called Moonlight. Once he was out of the moonlight, he could feel the coolness of the evening air again. Avez's warning about the full moon rang in his ears, and he wished that he had asked someone about it at the time. Hindsight was a wonderful thing. He paused in one of the shadows and listened. Something rustled in the direction to his left, so he followed the sound, making as little noise as possible in a hope to track her. He was sure that he was getting closer, as something disturbed dead leaves just ahead. The ground sloped up in front of him, and he slowly crept up the top of the small hill. As he peeked over the brink, he locked eyes with the large deer. Its whole body went tense as it sensed danger. Whitfield also froze as he took in the rest of the animal. It was a male, and his antlers must have been a metre wide. If he were to charge, Whitfield knew that he wouldn't have a chance. Past the stag, he could see more of the herd that had also stopped what they were doing and were looking his way. Whitfield didn't know what to do. He had no desire to be gored by this massive beast, but he couldn't stand and wait for the herd to scatter. A muffled moan to his left made the decision for him. The stag jumped away from him, and with a stamping of hooves, the rest of the herd followed suit. They soon vanished amid the trees. Silence followed. Whitfield feared for the worst as the silence dragged on. Finally, he decided to move in the direction he thought the moan had come from. Working his way through the trees, he paused every few steps to see if he could hear anything. As he moved around a large conifer, he caught sight of Esther. She was stood in front of an old oak, about 10 foot away, with a hand clamped around her mouth. Whitfield's heart sank as all manner of faces jumped into his mind as to whom the hand may belong to. But as Esther's eyes met him, there was no fear in them, which baffled him. Kadir's face appeared out of the darkness above Esther's head and looked straight at him. She pressed the index finger of her hand up to her lips. Whitfield paused mid-step, and she nodded her head in the direction of the forest behind her and Esther. 3 shapes were working their way through the small clearing behind the old oak. They were spread out and were looking in all directions. Whitfield winced as he considered whether he had attracted them this way by the noise he had been making, but it seemed that they hadn't seen him. "It definitely came from this direction," one of them offered to his companions and pointed towards where the deer had run off. Whitfield ducked down and slowly stepped over to Kadir and Esther. Esther took a step towards him, but Kadir held her firm and kept her pressed against her tall physique. Whitfield pressed his own index finger to his lips, and Esther nodded as she understood. Kadir removed her hand from Esther's mouth and drew her blade from the small of her back. She held up her hand and then pointed to the ground, ordering them to stay where they were. Whitfield smiled back at her, but her cold stare told him all he needed to know. He was in big trouble. Right now, though, he didn't care. Seeing her massive frame with that long blade in her hand filled him with a new level of confidence, and he felt that he would get through this evening. Kadir darted out from behind the oak, slinking through the leaves and fallen branches without a sound, and came up on the nearest man before the two before the two others even realised. A hand covered his mouth as the blade slid between his ribs. She lowered his body to the ground with just as little noise. As she circled around behind the second target, the third member of the group turned back towards his comrades and saw her. "Look out!" they screamed, but it was too late. Target number 2 already had his throat slit before he could react. The third figure was already running before his comrade's body had hit the ground. But Kadir had him in her sights. She threw her blade and it whistled in the quiet night air before embedding in the man's back. The power of the blow knocked him off his feet, felling him into the leaves with a heavy thump. Kadir silently ran over to where he had fallen, reaching down to remove the blade. The body moved as she retrieved her weapon, so she sank it in again, and then wiped it on the dead man's clothes. Just as noiselessly, she rejoined them. "We should go," she ordered. There you go. Another little bit. Purged in Flame is available on Amazon in the UK and the US. Both links will be in the body of this video, along with my Facebook author page, my Instagram page, my Twitter page, all of the pages. Yeah, so hope you enjoyed it. If you did, let me know. If you didn't, let me know. And I'll see you next time.